Is it green jacket or bust for Rory McIlroy at the 89th Masters at Augusta? We got to get you guys all caught up with all the storylines going into the most iconic golf event on the tour with our New York Post sports columnist, Mark Cannizzaro. Mark, thanks for hopping on with us. You're down in Georgia. Now, I guess let's start this thing by addressing the elephant in the room or the elephant at the Masters. Golf analyst Brandon Chambly said the pressure of winning another major championship for Rory McIlroy is the most pressure any player faces. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that Rory is facing the most pressure to win this year's Masters?
I not only agree with that, Brandon, I think it's maybe the most pressure that any player in Masters history has felt because of the fact that, I mean, this is a guy that hasn't won a major in 14 years, so that weighs heavily enough on him. The Masters is the only one of the majors he hasn't won, so he's also trying to complete a career Grand Slam, which only five other players in the history of the sport have done. So this is now his 11th go-round here at Augusta to try to win a Masters and complete that career Grand Slam. And he has had some heartbreak here. 2011, he had a massive lead and threw it away on the back nine, famously with the tee shot into the cabins off to the left of the number 10. And so there's such a thing as wanting something, maybe too badly. We got to that point for a while years ago with Phil Mickelson, who was kind of that best player that never won a major till he finally won and broke through here at Augusta in 2004. This is even 20-fold for Rory because he's trying to complete a career Grand Slam, and it's been 11 years since he won his last major. So this is no question to me. I mean, there's the most pressure on him in this field by far, and I don't think there's ever been a player in the history of this tournament that's faced as much pressure. It has had the pressure build as much as it's built for him right now.
It feels like Rory is like the Buffalo Bills of golf, just continues to catch a bad luck, can't win the big one. Hopefully he can do that over the weekend. Another big storyline, and some would even call it a controversy, Mark, heading into this weekend is Angel Cabrera playing in this Masters just 2 years removed from serving 30 months in prison for committing assault crimes against two ex-girlfriends. He played in and he won a Champions Tour event this past Sunday. But how do you think he's going to be received tonight at the annual Champions Dinner and, of course, on the course during the tournament this weekend?
Brandon, he's going to be received just fine in the comfort of the Champions. It's a stag dinner. It's kind of a good old boys network in there. It's all past champions, all wearing their green jackets. That'll be fine. I do think, as I wrote in my column today in the Post, I think there's going to be a lot of people on the grounds that'll be uncomfortable that he's here. Given the, severity of the crimes, the heinous crimes he committed against these women, it's and listen, there's hypocrisy everywhere we are, in life and in sports. Phil Mickelson, 3 years ago, was essentially strong-armed and not coming here because he joined the Live Golf League, right? And it was controversial, and it was a rival of PGA Tour, and that was enough of a crime in the Augusta, the powers that be here in their minds that they wanted him not to be here to avoid distraction. But yet you've got Cabrera here, who's certainly actually committed crimes he's been, convicted of. And that seemingly is not a distraction. To me, it's just a very odd dynamic, but you have the other side of it too, where, he has served his sentence. He's, his 30 months, he's done his time, so to speak. And he has come out on the other side, certainly publicly, very contrite. But is that enough, right? I mean, it's certainly to the three women he abused. That's never going to be enough. So, yeah, it's a polarizing situation here. I think what's going to happen though, it will go away pretty quickly because he's not he's 55 years old. He's not going to compete. It's not like we're going to be looking at him walking up 18 on Sunday as the winner that that people are going to maybe not be so happy about. It's I would think it's unlikely he'll even make the cut this week. So it's just kind of a pre-tournament story, but it is certainly polarizing, and it's a very dynamic situation here.
And we're hoping that it doesn't become a distraction and kind of take away from what's going on the course with all these like great golfers going out there competing in what I said the most iconic golf event that's out there. But let's talk about this weekend, Mark. Let's have some fun here. World number one, Scottie Scheffler. As you know, he's got a chance to make history by winning his third Masters in the past 4 years. Can Scottie do it?
I mean, he's the odds-on favorite. As much as Rory is in great form this year, he's already won a couple times. He won the Players Championship. He won at Pebble Beach. This golf course sets up so well for Scottie. It's his happy place. Statistically, he eats this place for lunch, and he's been in decent enough form this year. He just hasn't won, and it seems like stark because he won 7 times last year. But I think he's in a good place. I'll be shocked if he is not in the mix on Sunday, if not, flat out winning the golf tournament. He's just, he's obviously he's the best player in the world. His sustainability, Brandon, at the top of the golf game. We just got out of an interview with John Rahm, who was, I believe, the last number one before Scottie took it over, and just talked to him about what impresses him about that sustainability because. A lot of people, the argument is it harder to reach the top of the world rankings or harder to stay there? And everybody that's ever been number one will tell you it's harder to stay there. And Scottie's, he's going on 3 or 4 years now at number one. I mean, it's crazy. So, he's being talked about in the same conversation with some of the things he's been doing as Tiger, and that in and of itself is tells you all you need to know.
Yep. So Scottie has his juice, and he's the favorite. Rory's got the pressure. But outside of these two, who do you think are the biggest threats to take home a green jacket this year?
Well, one of the things I'm writing about for tomorrow's post is the whole live golf dynamic. I mean, they've got, this is the 1 week, one of the 4 weeks of the year, the 4 majors, where the top players in the world truly are playing, competing against each other. And, you've got this kid, Joaquin Niemann, who has won twice on the Live Tour and is, he's in as good as form as anybody in the world. You cannot discount Rahm, who's won here just a couple of years ago. And even Phil Mickelson at age 54, he was right in the mix to the end on Sunday last year here. And so I'm fascinated to see what some of the Live guys do. I think Niemann is a guy to watch. Another guy that just kind of nagging me a little bit in terms of making a pick because he's just been in good form, and I think this course sets up well for him. Is Shane Lowry, the Irishman who won the British Open in 2019 at Portrush. He's been in really, really good form. I could see him up there in the mix. I could see Jason Day, an Aussie who's been played very well around here as doing something. So those are a couple of kind of, I don't want to call them dark horses because they're still top players in the world. But, the one thing Augusta does, Brandon, is usually the cream rises to the top here. You rarely have that kind of out of nowhere winner, a super low ranked player or whatever, who you wouldn't think that it's usually one of the top players. This place separates the cream of the crop to me, and the cream usually rises to the top here at Augusta. It's just the way this place is. Maybe it's experience that helps around here, but that's kind of one of the many cool things about the Masters is the leaderboard is usually pretty stout come Sunday.
Lastly, Mark, before I let you go, you've covered the Masters for a long time now, both as a fan and as a New York Post sports columnist. What would you say is your most memorable moment covering this tournament?
Oh, that is a loaded question because there's so many of them. Weirdly, I don't know why this is. I think the number one thing for me was actually when Mickelson won in 2004 because he was and that was his first major championship, and it was an incredible electric duel down the stretch with Ernie Els back then. But if I could just throw a couple others in there quickly, weirdly, the ones that stand out to me are some of the heartbreaks here. When Greg Norman, lost a 6-shot lead in '96, that was unbelievable. When Rory blew up in 2011, that was amazing to me. But on the more positive side as well, my first few Masters here, my first one was in 1994. This is 31 for me this year in a row. And Olazabal won, his Spanish, idol, Seve Ballesteros had left inspirational note in his locker on the Sunday morning. The next year was in '95, and that was when Ben Crenshaw wins after his mentor Harvey Penick had passed away that week. He flew back to Texas for the funeral, came back and won. And then then you had '97, which was Tiger's first one, that came after the '96 collapse of Norman. So after 4 years, I mean, these stories were so remarkable. I thought to myself, there is something mystical going on around this place, because these crazy, cool, amazing stories keep unfolding. So you do have that here. So that was many more memories than just one, as you asked me. But I think probably my number one was the Mickelson win in '04, just because it had stopped his drought without a major, and it was just because of the electricity of that back nine between him and Els. It was some of the most amazing golf I'd ever seen in one setting.
We'll be glued to the TV here. Mark, enjoy Augusta, and thanks for hopping on with us.
Thanks, Brandon. Talk to you soon, man.